We continue today from where we left off yesterday, learning about the various aspects that help a person to absorb Torah. These are the 48 qualities that the Mishna in Pirkei Avot, chapter 6, Mishna 6 speaks about. And we continue to the next one after the one we learned yesterday. The final one we learned yesterday was about seeking peace, about pursuing peace, and that when a person is intent on making peace as opposed to conflict and discord, then he will help him to be able to absorb and get better understanding of the Torah. The next one is mityashev libo betalmudo. What is mityashev libo betalmudo? That a person, when he learns Torah, he should learn Torah in a focused, attentive way, not in a way that is distracted, not in a way that is rushed. He should give his full attention when he sits down to learn Torah, and give it the time that it deserves. Unfortunately, nowadays, many people have issues with attention deficiency and all sorts of situations. A person should work on himself, that when he's involved in learning Torah, he should be focused, not try to multitask at the same time. I've seen people in a shiur having their phones texting or doing different things. It will be hard for a person to be able to absorb fully. So one of the qualities that a person should nurture and develop is to be focused and to give the amount of time that is necessary and to do it in a way that is focused and not distracted, basically. The next one is shoel umeshiv. What is shoel umeshiv? Ask questions and answers. And in other words, asking appropriate questions and responding appropriately. Not to get involved in subjects that are not the subject at hand. Sometimes a person is dealing with a certain subject and he's asking a question out of left field somewhere. It has nothing to do with the subject at hand. That would not be very appropriate and would not be conducive to learning Torah properly. You have to stay focused on the subject, to ask questions on the theme that is being discussed, and when you respond, it should be on the theme that is being discussed. Shomea u'masif. What is shomea u'masif? You hear and you add. In other words, after a student hears certain subjects being discussed by his teacher, he should try and make an effort to add more to it. In other words, to apply what he's just learned into a similar situation, or compare and ask and sort of like add more to it than what just is being there at hand, but to sort of like deduce from what is being said some similar situations. And that's what we're talking about, adding and explaining something even more, enlarging more the explanations, and having it in a way where you're being involved also in understanding and in explaining and enlarging and expanding whatever is being said right there and then. And that's another quality that would be a good quality to learn more Torah. Alomed al menat lelamed. A person who learns in order to teach. In other words, your learning should not be just for yourself, but you should have in mind also that whatever you're learning, you should have in mind that you should be able at some point to teach others. And that will also be conducive to better learning of Torah. Ve'alomed al menat la'asot. Also, a person should learn in order to apply what he learns. If a person learns halachot of a certain subject just in theory, that would not be sufficient to be able to acquire really the Torah. To be able to acquire Torah fully, a person has to think what I'm learning is in order to apply. If I'm learning halachot that have to do with kashrut, in order to apply those halachot in my personal life. If it is halachot that have to do with Shabbat, I'm learning those halachot in order to fulfill the mitzvot associated with Shabbat that I'm learning in order to apply, in order to fulfill, not just as theory. Hamahkim et rabo. Someone who makes his rabbi or his teacher wiser. In other words, through his questions and through his inquiries in terms of certain applications of what's being studied. If a person is intent on asking questions and discussing subjects, and through his discussions come to light more elucidations on what is being discussed, that is an approach that will help a person to learn better Torah. והמכוון את שמועתו. מכוון שמועתו is more than one explanation. We'll use one of them here. It's a person that is intent on understanding the real meaning of what is being said by his teacher, and is very intent on understanding the specific intention of what being discussed, so that he's able to relate one subject to another. So again, we come back to the idea of focused and a desire to understand, and therefore that will help him also in learning Torah. It says here in Hebrew, "Ma'amik le'avin kavanat advarim sheshama mipirotav ve'shava ze im ze." So he wants to understand deeper what is being said and to relate one subject to another subject that he learned and try to connect them both together. Va'omer davar b'shem omro. And the final one of the 48 that we're learning today, and it's the final one for this Mishnah also, is when a person says divrei Torah to others, he should say who said those divrei Torah. If he quotes a rabbi, he should quote the rabbi who said it. Sometimes we forget, but as much you should make an effort to say who said that statement that you're quoting, with the name of the person who said it. That will help the person to remember his Torah, and that will help a person to achieve more Torah learning. And these were the 48 aspects that will help one to learn Torah. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen ve'amen, and Shabbat Shalom.